and I'm the lead writer of Overwatch. And I'm here to break down every character in Overwatch. We're gonna start with the offense heroes. Doomfist started in the game as simply a name. We had this movie that announced Overwatch to the world, and one of the characters mentions Doomfist, and just that name was so interesting that people have been asking us for years, when are we going to see Doomfist as a hero? And we on the team were also really excited to someday get to make him. It's actually a few years ago was the first time that we even did artwork for him, and one of the amazing things about that first look is that for years we didn't touch it until we were actually going to make the hero, and we pulled it out again, and we found that we still loved it. There are a number of Doomfists in the history of the Overwatch universe, so it's sort of a title that's been carried by different characters. The original Doomfist was a really good guy, one of the heroes of the Omnic Crisis, but the current Doomfist, most people would say a little bit more of a villain. Genji. Genji and Hanzo originally started as one hero, but we had designed so much stuff for these two characters for the idea of this ninja samurai hybrid that we ended up splitting them into two characters. Hanzo in development was called Bow Ninja, and so Genji was called Sword Ninja. The story of Genji and Hanzo as characters came from a place that you might not expect it. I really like watching all these food documentaries, and I watched this one, Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which has a subplot about these two brothers, and I thought a lot about the idea of this older brother who had to inherit kind of his father's restaurant and carry on that legacy, and then the younger brother who is free to do sort of whatever he wants. And so Genji is the younger brother. He doesn't have the baggage of Hanzo. He doesn't have to worry about carrying on the family legacy, and ultimately that creates a lot of friction between Hanzo and Genji, where Hanzo thinks that Genji's got the good life, he doesn't have any pressure, Genji doesn't want any part of what his family's up to, and ultimately this explodes in battle between Hanzo and Genji, leaving Genji kind of the way you see him now, which is that he was almost killed, and he had to get all this cybernetic enhancement done by Overwatch that made him into the hero that you sort of know today. Genji is voiced by Gaku Space. He has lots of lines both in English and Japanese, and one of the great things having the help from Gaku is that he's sort of able to tell me, like, that doesn't really work in Japanese, let me help you out there because I'm not a fluent Japanese speaker. McCree. When we were naming him, we were trying to come up with the perfect cowboy name. And we had these two lists of names, like first names and last names, and we went through everything. Nothing was feeling quite right, and someone suggested, hey, what about the name Jesse McCree? Jesse is a designer at Blizzard, and so we heard that name and we're like, okay, and we kind of stack ranked Jesse McCree against every other name we'd come up with, and at the end of it, we still thought Jesse McCree was the best cowboy name, so we ended up going with it. Jesse had to sign over his name to us, and so now he will forever be linked to our favorite cowboy character. McCree is voiced by the incredibly talented Matthew Mercer. Funny story about casting Mercer as McCree is that he originally saw the game when it was announced at BlizzCon. He said, like, he really wanted to be a part of the game. At that point, we hadn't actually started working on McCree yet, but we had this poster that had all the original heroes lined up, and because we like doing things like this, we snuck in a couple heroes on the side, and one of them was this cowboy, and Matt told me once, he said, he looked at that art and he said, that might be a character I could do, and that's how it ended up. Pharah's story is really interesting because her whole life she wanted to join the Overwatch organization. Her mom, Anna, is a really prominent member of it, and also her father was a public servant, and so that sort of ran in her blood, and her dream was to someday be able to do the same thing as a member of Overwatch. But before she had that opportunity, Overwatch got shut down, and so now she's a member of Helix Security, which is sort of like an international security company, and she's dreaming of the day that maybe she could join Overwatch again, and hopefully she'll get that chance. Reaper. He was one of the original heroes, and we told very little about him, but since then we've delved into his backstory a lot more. Reaper is voiced by Keith Ferguson, who is one of the nicest people that I've ever met, so I like to say that when we're doing voice sessions with Reaper, it's probably a little bit of therapy for him. When we did our Uprising event, we were able to actually, for the first time, show Reyes before he became Reaper, and so he appears as a voice over the communication set, and I think everyone was so surprised by it. They're like, wait, who is that? And he says, Reyes here, and everyone freaked out because they had never heard kind of what he was like before he became Reaper. Soldier 76. He's actually the personal creation of our creative director, Chris Metzen, so a character that was near and dear to his heart, which he was kind enough to let us incorporate into Overwatch. And so because of that, we're all we're very careful, and we really want to make this character that Chris loves. Soldier 76 is voiced by Fred Tatasciore. Sombra. Sombra is voiced by Carolina Ravassa. One of the things that we were really looking for with Sombra's voice is we wanted someone who had the attitude, but also had this sense of like competency. And I think Carolina really brings that to the role. We also wanted Sombra to be very tough. And one thing that I think really separates her from some of the other Overwatch characters is that a lot of the characters in Overwatch have this like heightened way of speaking. They're either very serious or they're almost playing a role. But Sombra almost sounds like someone that you would meet on the street, and she talks in a very naturalistic way, and I think it really sets her apart from some of the other characters. Tracer. She is so bright and optimistic and cheerful. Like when you hear her on the battlefield, she just cuts through with that sunny voice. And one of the things that you might not think of that is really iconic to Tracer is her giggle. And we had to do so many giggles just to like get the perfect, hee hee. Well, that's not a good giggle, but we worked with a actress, Cara Theobald, and she has this natural giggle, so we've probably had her giggle more than anything or any other character, and we have this library, and it's always fun when we get to do that. All right, so next we're going to talk about our defense heroes.
Okay, guys. I'm leaving it here. So see you in the next one.